some people search the entire world for true love, while others apparently search for international shipping rates on just, like, giant flapping red flags.
Right, and honestly, considering the sheer weight of the emotional baggage these people are importing, those customs fees have to be absolutely astronomical. I mean, they're paying by the pound at this point.
Babes, we love you, we see you, and babes, welcome back. Welcome back to the chaos. Today, we are unpacking the latest cinematic trash fire of our favorite international reality romance show, and I'm emotionally exhausted before we even begin. My soul is tired.
Well, to fortify our souls against the impending nonsense, we've come heavily prepared today. Snark Squad, the espresso martinis are officially on deck.
Yes, they are.
And normally, we would readily admit that these are entirely too classy for our usual aesthetic. We are fundamentally drinking discount wine out of a promotional coffee mug kind of people.
Literally. Unapologetically.
Yeah. But tonight, we took a massive culinary swing. We paired the espresso martinis with homemade banana pudding. And I am entirely flabbergasted to report that it is an elite Michelin star level combination.
We need to pause the entire universe and discuss this flavor profile for a second because I am reeling. I genuinely believe banana pudding is the apex of human dessert achievement. It hits absolutely every textural requirement for happiness.
It really does.
You have the velvet smoothness of the pudding itself. You have the vanilla wafers, which, by the way, require surgical precision.
Oh, absolutely. The structural integrity of the wafer is the linchpin of the entire dish.
Exactly. They have to be at the exact microscopic intersection of slightly softened but still possessing structural integrity. If they are mushy, it's baby food.
Disgusting.
Right. And if they snap, you haven't let it sit long enough in the fridge, and then you add the fresh bananas. It's perfect.
But here is the architectural genius of pairing it with an espresso martini. You take a bite of this rich, cloying, deeply comforting southern sweetness, right? Your palate is just overwhelmed with sugar and dairy.
Yeah.
And then immediately, you cut through that heavy blanket with a sip of a freezing cold, sharply acidic, violently caffeinated vodka cocktail.
I know. It sounds like a gastrointestinal disaster waiting to happen.
It really does.
It sounds like something a teenager would dare you to consume at a middle school sleepover. But the duality, it is a masterpiece of contrast.
It's a study in harsh realities cutting through sweet delusions, which is essentially the thematic thesis of the television episode we are about to dissect anyway.
Oh my gosh, look at you tying it all together.
I try. If I had to submit a formal rating for this pairing, it is a chaotic, wildly disrespectful, yet undeniably triumphant 11 out of 10.
A triumphant 11 out of 10. And we cannot take the credit for this culinary masterpiece. We have to send a massive shout out to the OG Snark Queens themselves, Joan and Felicia, because they are the masterminds who actually constructed this banana pudding.
We spent the entire afternoon visiting them at the retirement community, and, as is tradition, they were serving up piping hot tea, aggressively accurate shade, and unsolicited life advice that just cuts directly to the bone.
Oh my goodness, the sheer brutality of Joan today. She literally looked me up and down when I walked into the lobby, took a long sip of her iced water, and said, "It is incredibly brave of you to wear horizontal stripes when your posture is so relaxed."
I literally had to look away. I couldn't make eye contact.
I disintegrated. I turned into dust right there in the foyer. And Felicia didn't even say anything. She just adjusted her glasses and nodded in solemn agreement.
They are ruthless.
They are. But they are our muses, which is exactly why we dragged them out of the facility today and took them to a local pottery class.
Because we are currently trapped in our hobby exploration era, desperately trying to prove we have interests outside of critiquing reality television on the internet. However, exploration is an incredibly generous term for the devastation we inflicted upon that ceramic studio.
I walked into that studio with a pure, unadulterated vision. I wanted to channel my inner zen. I wanted to craft a minimalist, raw-edge matcha bowl.
It's a beautiful concept.
But clay is deceitful. The wheel was spinning at Mach 5. I panicked. My hand slipped. The water went everywhere. And suddenly I was staring at a piece of abstract art that looked remarkably like a melted orthopedic shoe.
You basically sculpted a physical manifestation of generalized anxiety. It was a lumpy monument to trauma.
Hey, I tried.
Meanwhile, I approached the wheel like a science experiment. I followed the instructor's directions to the letter. I calculated the exact moisture-to-pressure ratio.
Of course you did.
I centered the clay using core body strength. And somehow, despite my rigid analytical precision, I created something that is indistinguishable from a russet potato.
It really was so brown and sad.
A hollowed-out, asymmetrical, deeply depressing potato.
But it is a structurally sound potato. It can hold at least 3 paper clips easily. But the absolute highlight of the afternoon was Joan.
Oh, Joan was a menace.
Joan completely ignored the nice instructor with the soothing voice. She started violently slapping the clay onto the table, wrestling it into submission, and stubbornly announcing to the entire room that she was the literal reincarnation of Pablo Picasso.
She fashioned this jagged, terrifying vase that looks like it would actively slice your hand open if you attempted to place a flower inside it.
Yes, and then she aggressively demanded the instructor fire it in the kiln immediately.
And let's not forget Felicia's contribution to the arts. She refused to wear an apron. She refused to touch the clay.
Obviously.
She simply perched on a stool in the darkest corner of the studio, crossed her arms, and delivered loud, withering critiques of everyone else's manual labor. She pointed directly at my ceramic potato and loudly inquired if I was planning to serve gruel to Victorian orphans.
I'm going to be laughing about the Victorian orphans comment for the rest of my natural life. I mean, it was so accurate.
It really was.
But speaking of absolute unmitigated disasters, before we get into the television couples, I need to briefly update you on my personal life. I am still traversing the haunted wasteland that is modern online dating, and babes, it is a catastrophe. I am unwell.
You think you're unwell?
I am hovering exactly 1 notification away from hurling my smartphone into the nearest large body of water and joining a silent monastery.
Wait, what happened now?
The sheer unadulterated audacity of the messages sitting in my inbox right now defies human logic. A man sent me an opening message this morning that read, verbatim, "You look like you own a lot of Tupperware."
Wait.
Yeah.
I need to process that. Tupperware.
Tupperware. What is the psychological intent behind that statement? Is it a compliment about my perceived organizational skills?
I mean...
Is it an insult implying I look incredibly domestic and boring? Is it a threat? Am I supposed to be charmed by his keen observation of my plastic storage potential? I mean, to be completely fair, your pantry is exceptionally organized, and you do love a good airtight seal.
Thank you, but that's not the point.
But as an opening romantic gambit, it is terrifying. But here's where my situation gets genuinely concerning. I matched with someone yesterday who seems flawless.
Oh, no.
His photos are perfectly lit, but not heavily edited. His prompts are witty and self-deprecating. He asks engaging follow-up questions. He uses grammatically correct punctuation.
Which means he is undeniably hiding a dark and terrible secret.
Exactly. A man cannot be this well-adjusted on a dating app unless he is a covert operative running a multi-state Ponzi scheme or secretly harboring an entire second family in a quiet Connecticut suburb.
He's a menace.
The other shoe is going to drop, and it's going to be a combat boot.
It's the utter lack of verified transparency that makes this entire process unbearable. This is why I am formally proposing a constitutional amendment.
I'm listening.
Dating apps should be legally required to perform full, rigorous FBI background checks before anyone is granted swiping privileges. I don't just want your height and your favorite episode of The Office.
No, absolutely not.
I need your current credit score, a comprehensive criminal record, a signed psychological evaluation from a licensed therapist, and at least 3 notarized references from your most recent ex-partners.
Put it on the ballot. Literally, put it on the ballot right now. If I am going to risk my central nervous system sitting across from a stranger at a coffee shop for a $14 iced latte, I need to know in advance if he has a history of violent road rage.
Exactly.
Or if he's a Gemini completely governed by unhealed mother wounds. It should be public knowledge.
The lack of vetting is exactly how people end up in the horrifying situations we witnessed on our television screens this week. I am genuinely still recovering from the psychological warfare we were subjected to.
The television mess.
Yes.
Babes, enough about our own relationship disasters. Let's get into everyone else's.
We need to start with the absolute mansion of misery. Marissa and Edward.
Yes, okay. Let's set the cinematic scene for the Snark Squad. Edward has finally completed his journey. He has uprooted his entire existence in the Dominican Republic. He touches down on American soil, and Marissa picks him up from the airport.
A big moment.
Huge. And she is driving him through this lush, gorgeous, tree-lined suburban neighborhood to her literal $1 million home. And you can see Edward's eyes just sparkling.
He's mesmerized.
He is looking at these massive manicured lawns, the sprawling driveways, and he thinks he has hit the absolute jackpot. He thinks he is walking into a fairy tale.
Yes, from the exterior, it is the quintessential American dream rendered in brick and mortar. But the absolute second the front door clicks open, that glittering illusion shatters into a million pieces.
Oh, it evaporated immediately.
Because for $1 million piece of real estate, the interior decoration was bizarrely, aggressively dated.
It was so depressive.
His heavily giving 1967 regional bank branch waiting room. Everything was a sterile, lifeless gray. The furniture looked stiff and unforgiving. It didn't exude warmth or welcome. It looked exactly like a museum exhibit where a velvet rope prevents you from touching anything.
And that museum metaphor becomes violently accurate within roughly 3 minutes of him dropping his suitcases. Marissa doesn't even offer him a glass of water before she initiates the military briefing.
No hydration, just legislation.
Exactly. She immediately hits him with the household legislation. Rule number 1, absolutely no shoes in the house. Which, okay, fine. A lot of people have a shoe-free house. It's sanitary.
Sure, standard.
But she doesn't stop there. She marches him into the bedroom and begins outlining the strict, non-negotiable bed-making protocols. She looks directly into the camera lens and declares, "I'm a control freak. I like things the way I like them. It makes me feel at ease."
Terrifying.
She literally forces a grown man who just flew across the ocean to remake a bed that he had already made, simply because the duvet wasn't smooth to her showroom specifications.
What is truly fascinating and deeply concerning is Edward's physical reaction to this barrage of rules.
He looks so sad.
In his confessional interview, the light has completely drained from his eyes. He explicitly states that he feels like he's been drafted into the military.
Yeah, poor guy.
He notes the jarring contrast. When she visited him in the Dominican Republic, she was breezy, she was in vacation mode, she was a completely different person. Now he is on her turf.
Right.
And he delivers this incredibly perceptive line. He says, "She's the president and I'm the secretary." He is rapidly realizing that this dynamic is not a romantic partnership. It is an autocracy. And he is merely a new, low-level employee who just failed his first performance review.
The power dynamic is completely suffocating, and the absolute peak of this territorial dominance is the closet situation.
Oh my God, the closets.
She walks him into this massive, sprawling, custom-built his and hers walk-in closet, the kind of closet you see in architectural magazines, but both sides are packed with her clothes.
Wall to wall.
Wall to wall. She turns to him and graciously points out exactly 2 metal hanging rods. And they aren't even the full-length rods for coats or dresses. They are the short half rods for, like, folded pants.
It was an insult.
She tells him he is permitted to use those 2 specific sections, and the rest of the entire square footage remains hers. He has moved his entire life across the globe, and she is rationing out an inch of shelf space as if she is granting him a royal pardon.
It is the entitlement that makes it so difficult to watch. That deep-seated entitlement bleeds directly into the most unhinged, psychologically dark rule of the entire house tour: the bathroom legislation.
I was standing in my living room screaming. I was yelling at my television screen. She walks him into the primary ensuite bathroom, and she tells him with a completely straight face that allowing him to use this bathroom is a huge privilege.
A privilege.
A privilege. She actually brags, as if this is a charming anecdote, that her ex-husband was never allowed to use this bathroom. The man she was married to had to walk down the hallway to use the guest facilities.
Which is deranged.
But she is benevolently bestowing upon Edward the right to enter the room, with one massive, glaring caveat. They have a massive glass shower enclosure with 2 shower heads. She points to the one shivering in the corner and says, "That's yours."
Correct. She mandates separate, rigidly enforced showering jurisdictions.
It's insane.
Edward, acting like a rational human being in love, asks the obvious question, why can't we take a shower together? And Marissa delivers an excuse so flimsy it's transparent.
So flimsy.
She claims, well, somebody's always cold and I'm not going to be the one that's cold. She says she needs her alone time.
Okay, I have to aggressively push back on her logic here, because to me, that is so weird and anti-romantic.
Oh, completely.
You just navigated the labyrinth of the U.S. immigration system to fly your fiancé in. You should be in the absolute peak of the honeymoon phase. You should be glued to each other.
100%.
The idea of enforcing a sterile, separate shower policy on his very first night in the house feels so icy, it completely kills any sense of intimacy.
See, I look at the water temperature excuse as a complete red herring.
Oh, totally.
If we pull back and analyze the broader psychological picture, this has absolutely nothing to do with thermodynamics. This is about pure, unadulterated territorial control. She is establishing alpha dominance in her environment.
Wow, yeah.
By physically restricting his movement and dictating his hygiene routine in her bathroom, She is reminding him on a deep subconscious level that he is a subordinate guest in her domain. Now, is it a green flag for someone who knows how to aggressively enforce a personal boundary? Yes. But for the health and longevity of a romantic partnership,
No way.
it is a colossal red flag signaling a completely transactional, emotionally sterile dynamic.
When you frame it as a dominance ritual, it makes the whole house feel like a psychological experiment. It's so creepy. And speaking of intimidating dominance rituals, we must discuss the arrival of Michael, the ex-husband.
That's our Michael.
Because the absolute suffocating tension in that living room when he walked through the door was thick enough to carve with a machete.
Michael did not arrive at that house to play pleasantries. His stated reason for the visit was that their two sons, Derek and Cole, were coming home. And as a father, he needed to meet the new man living under the roof.
Fair enough.
But from the moment he crossed the threshold, it was a masterclass in intimidation. Michael locks eyes with Edward, doesn't blink, and casually drops one of the most terrifying threats ever broadcast on reality television.
Oh my gosh.
He says, completely deadpan, "I'll bite someone's face off for my kids."
I will bite someone's face off. Who deploys that phrasing in casual conversation? I was physically recoiling into my sofa.
It was feral.
Michael wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was laying down a terrifying ultimatum. Like, if there is any yelling, any chaotic reality TV drama, any stress inflicted upon his children in this house, he will bypass all legal channels and descend upon Edward like a feral, rabid animal.
But here is the critical analytical breakdown of that confrontation. Michael actually dropped some incredibly valuable, highly classified intel about Marissa's entire psychological makeup.
Oh, he really did.
And Edward completely, tragically misses it. During the conversation, Michael opens up and admits that during his marriage to Marissa, her extraordinarily wealthy family made him feel like a complete loser.
That was so telling.
He explains that they introduced him to a world of luxury, nice vacations, beautiful hotels, but they weaponized their financial superiority to constantly remind him of his place at the bottom of the hierarchy.
Right.
Michael wasn't just venting. He was handing Edward a survival manual. He was warning him, like, this family will make you feel incredibly small. They will use their prestige in this massive house to dominate your self-worth.
And how does Edward process this priceless warning? He entirely fumbles the bag. He gets incredibly stupidly defensive. Instead of taking notes, he turns it into this ridiculous chest-thumping macho contest. He looks at the camera and says, oh, he's a man, but I'm a man too. He thinks he's the only one who can fight. I can fight too.
Embarrassing.
Edward, please listen to the words coming out of his mouth. He is not challenging you to a fist fight in the driveway next to the recycling bins.
Exactly.
He is desperately trying to warn you about the incredibly controlling woman you are about to marry and the intimidating family structure you are walking into.
Exactly. Edward's fragile ego completely blinded him to the structural reality of his situation. He let a misplaced sense of machismo prevent him from absorbing the very real warning signs being served to him on a silver platter.
Such a missed opportunity.
Michael clearly has zero desire to get Marissa back. He simply wants stability for his children. But Edward was too busy trying to prove his alpha male credentials to actually analyze the battlefield.
And speaking of proving one's masculinity, oh my goodness, we have to talk about the medical procedure. I am physically blushing just bringing this up.
The circumcision, yes. Let's delve into the medical anomaly.
We suddenly veer into this wildly intimate, completely unexpected territory where Edward casually mentions that he recently underwent a circumcision.
Unprompted, basically.
Right. And he looks at Marissa full of pride and claims that getting this surgical alteration to his genitals makes him feel American. What? In what textbook, in what universe does a localized medical procedure equate to patriotic assimilation? I was staring at the wall in disbelief.
It is, without a doubt, one of the most astonishing leaps of logic ever recorded. And it immediately ignited a massive debate online, raising a very dark, deeply important question.
Oh, absolutely.
If you analyze the timeline of events, and remember, Marissa dictates exactly how the bed is made, what closet space he gets, and what shower head he is legally allowed to stand under.
A control freak.
Right. Did Edward truly wake up one random Tuesday in the Dominican Republic and independently decide, you know what will make me feel like a true citizen of the United States? Elective surgery.
There is no way.
Or is the much more plausible reality that Marissa heavily coerced or outright demanded that he alters his physical body before she would grant him access to her pristine, tightly regulated home?
Oh my God. When you align it with the separate showers and the suffocating house rules, it fits her psychological profile flawlessly.
It really does.
She doesn't just want the house customized to her exact specifications. She wants her partner biologically customized as well. That is so deeply unsettling.
It represents the absolute zenith of her need for control. It crosses from environmental regulation into bodily autonomy.
Truly.
But while Marissa governs her household with these quiet, cold, highly calculated rules, we need to shift our focus to another relationship. A relationship where control isn't a quiet mandate, but rather a chaotic, screaming public weapon.
Oh, sweet baby angels, you already know exactly where we are heading. We are taking a direct flight to the delusions of Hollywood, Debbie and Waito.
Brace yourself.
I actually need another sip of this espresso martini before we begin this segment because my blood pressure is dangerously elevating just hearing his name.
Let's establish the geography and the stakes. They are in the excruciating process of moving into a new apartment in Louisiana.
And the heat.
Right. Now, anyone who has ever lived on planet Earth knows that moving day is inherently one of the most stressful, physically taxing experiences a human can endure.
It's the worst.
Tensions are naturally going to be high. But Maito isn't helping to mitigate the stress. He isn't lifting heavy furniture. He is treating Debbie, the woman who is funding this entire endeavor, as if she is his unpaid, exhausted production assistant for his completely non-existent social media empire.
A paparazzi meltdown. This was insane. Maito is behind the wheel of the moving truck, and he aggressively demands that Debbie stand on the pavement and film a video of him driving it, specifically for his career.
Air quotes around career.
Huge air quotes.
Yeah.
Debbie, who is sweating, exhausted, and doing the lion's share of the actual physical labor, pulls out her phone, fumbles, and accidentally snaps a photograph instead of hitting record for a video.
A tragedy.
It is the most mundane, simple, understandable technological error. And Maito loses his entire mind. He erupts into a full-scale theatrical meltdown.
And the seemingly trivial mistake triggers the infamous phone-throwing incident. Now, we are presented with two violently competing narratives.
Let's hear them. Debbie, exasperated by his diva behavior, claims she simply tossed the phone into his lap in frustration. Maito, however, weaponizes the moment entirely. He claims she violently hurled the device directly into his face, escalating the narrative to equate her actions with physical assault.
I am sorry, but I absolutely reject his narrative. I do not believe for a fraction of a second that she beamed that phone at his face.
For a second.
We saw the high-definition footage of them later that afternoon sitting in the coffee shop. There was not a single red mark, not a scratch, not a bruise on his pristine skin.
Flawless complexion.
He is weaponizing his own fragility to play the victim and punish her. He is parading around Louisiana, acting like an A-list movie star, reprimanding her by saying, "You are not my paparazzi, I have a career."
A career meeting.
Exactly. What career? You don't have adoring fans lining the streets of Louisiana. You have a handful of bot followers on a defunct app.
What is truly fascinating and deeply insidious is the specific mechanism of Maito's manipulation. Watch how seamlessly he pivots from playing the wounded victim of a thrown phone to unleashing a calculated torrent of blatant misogyny.
It was so dark.
When they sit down at that coffee shop to allegedly hash out their differences, his goal is not resolution. His goal is subjugation.
Yes.
He immediately threatens to pack his bags and leave, stating that if a girlfriend back in Egypt had ever committed a mistake of this magnitude, he would have abandoned her on the spot.
And then he has the absolute audacity to bring his culture into it. He sits there in that coffee shop and weaponizes his background to demand her complete submission.
Classic deflection.
And just to be crystal clear, we are not critiquing his culture or religion in any way, shape, or form.
Of course not.
But we are absolutely going to drag Maito through the mud for twisting the beautiful concept of cultural respect into a cheap disguise for his own toxic, manipulative garbage behavior.
Exactly.
He is demanding unquestioning respect while simultaneously offering her absolutely zero dignity in return.
Precisely. He is using cultural norms as an impenetrable shield to protect his own narcissism. He lectures her, telling her she needs to learn how to properly treat a man.
Oh, gross.
And then, when he feels he hasn't broken her down quite enough, he delivers the lowest, most cruel, deeply personal blow of the entire episode. He stares her dead in the eyes and sneers that she hasn't had a man in 20 years simply because she doesn't know how to obey.
I screamed. The neighbors probably thought I was being attacked. How dare he?
It was vile.
This woman is financially backing your cross-continental move. She is putting a roof over your head. She is indulging your embarrassing delusions of grandeur, and you attack her core worth as a woman.
Yeah.
You try to humiliate her romantic history because she accidentally took a JPEG instead of an MP4.
Yeah.
He is the ultimate sassy scammer, and I am entirely finished with him.
It is the textbook definition of a manipulative breakdown tactic. He is systematically attempting to destroy her self-esteem so that she feels incredibly lucky to even have him around.
That's exactly what he's doing.
If she believes she is unlovable and broken, she will continue to blindly fund his lifestyle out of desperation. However, based on the glorious preview footage for next week's episode, it appears Mito's strategy is about to spectacularly backfire. Debbie's breaking point has finally arrived.
Yes, the roadside drop-off. That preview injected pure adrenaline into my veins. We see them fighting in the car, and Debbie just fundamentally snaps. The illusion is gone.
She was done.
She turns to him, her voice dripping with rage, and screams, "You can screw that girl in Egypt!" And then she slams on the brakes and kicks him out of the vehicle.
A cinematic masterpiece.
She leaves him completely stranded on the shoulder of a dusty Louisiana highway. And the best part, he is standing there in a literal full-body Egyptian pharaoh costume.
The visual composition of that scene is museum-worthy. You have Mito standing in the dirt by the highway, clad in a cheap theatrical costume, helplessly watching his primary source of funding accelerate away from him. It is pure cinema.
Hanging in the Louvre.
He constantly demanded to be treated like a Hollywood star, and he finally got his dramatic, unforgettable scene. But speaking of unforgettable scenes, let's transition from Mito's utter lack of a reality check to a couple who are currently trapped in a literal biological nightmare reality.
Oh no, I'm not ready. I need to mentally prepare myself. We are entering the twin mattress terror, Josh and Catie. I feel like I need to hold my breath just to discuss this segment. It feels unsanitary to even talk about.
This segment elicited the most visceral, physical reaction I have had to television in years.
Same.
We have Josh, an impeccably groomed, seemingly put-together man hailing from the historic academic hub of Cambridge in the UK. He travels across the Atlantic Ocean to move into Catie's American apartment, an apartment I must emphasize that he'd only previously viewed via a virtual tour.
Which we all know means she held her iPhone camera up for roughly 3 seconds, quickly spun around in a circle to blur the background, and immediately hung up the FaceTime call.
Basically, yeah.
Because of the actual reality of this apartment, it was a house of horrors. They walk through the front door, and it is claustrophobically tiny.
So small.
But worse than the size, it is buried under clutter and trash bags. But the absolute zenith of this nightmare is the bedroom setup. They pull back the covers, and we realize it is a twin mattress.
A single bed.
Intended for 2 fully grown adults to share.
A twin mattress is bad enough for a couple. But the size was the least of the issues. The mattress itself was horrifyingly filthy. It was covered edge to edge in dark, ambiguous, deeply concerning stains.
And Catie, with a completely straight face, looks at this man who just crossed an ocean for her and says, "Oh, don't look at the stains. They're permanent."
Permanent stains.
Permanent stains. I am sorry, but no. If you are in a financial situation where you absolutely cannot afford a brand new mattress, there are protocols. You go to a big box store, you purchase a thick zip-up allergy encasement. You put a heavy-duty waterproof mattress protector over that. You put on clean sheets, and you hide your shame. You do not invite your international fiancé to rest his head on a literal biohazard.
It's indefensible.
And what makes it infinitely worse is how she constantly tries to rebrand her severe squalor as a quirky medical condition. She keeps waving her hands and saying, "Oh, my OCD is acting up. Let me just check under the bed."
Disgusting.
Having OCD does not mean you are content living in absolute filth. It is an insult to the diagnosis.
Precisely. She is co-opting a clinical psychological term and using it as a whimsical shield to deflect from her complete lack of basic sanitation. And speaking of her checking under the bed, that inevitably brings us to the discovery.
Oh, don't make me relive it.
The specific, zoomed-in detail that I believe has permanently scarred Josh, you, me, and the entire viewing audience.
The box. We have to talk about the box.
Yes, we do.
While she is supposedly performing her OCD checks under the bed frame, she pulls out a cardboard box. A box specifically designed to hold an adult personal massager. A sex toy. And Josh, perhaps out of morbid curiosity, opens the lid, looks inside, and visibly recoils in disgust.
because the item inside is not only used, but it is covered in what Josh horrifically describes as a gummy residue.
It crosses the line from messy into a legitimate biological hazard. It is unconscionable. The total absence of basic hygiene, coupled with the complete lack of respect for a shared living space, is deeply disturbing. It shows a profound immaturity.
I was physically gagging. I had to avert my eyes from the television. But the torment doesn't end there.
It gets worse.
Because even if you possess the mental fortitude to somehow ignore the gummy box and the stained twin mattress, you are immediately assaulted by the garage door symphony.
Ah, yes. The relentless auditory torture.
They finally lay down to attempt sleep, crammed together on the stained single bed, and suddenly the room is filled with this blaring, mechanical, high-pitched beeping.
Like a construction site.
It sounds like a commercial smoke detector.
Ah.
It turns out their tiny bedroom shares a wall directly with the massive rolling door of the apartment building's parking garage.
A structural nightmare.
Every single time a resident's car enters or exits the building, the massive metal gears groan and the industrial warning alarm blares directly next to their heads. All night long.
It forces you to ask a very serious question. Why would any sane, functioning British man leave his stable career, his friends, and his presumably clean home in Cambridge to willingly subject himself to severe sleep deprivation and absolute squalor?
Exactly. And the squalor isn't just environmental, her personality is equally chaotic. We have to analyze her kissing crusade.
The bar incident.
Yes. They go out to a bar, she gets completely obliterated, and the very next morning she is lying in the bed, literally texting her friends to investigate whether or not she committed infidelity.
Just a casual morning test.
She texts her friend Danica, "Did I ask everyone to kiss them on the lips last night?" And she reads this text message out loud to Josh, as if it's just a cute, quirky little oopsie.
She treats her own potential infidelity as a charming punchline. She clearly thrives on the attention and the theatrical drama of playing the messy, unpredictable party girl.
She loves it.
But here is where I have to strongly push back on the prevailing narrative the show is trying to spin for us.
Oh.
Josh is constantly sitting in his confessional interviews, looking bewildered, asking the producers, "Am I a fool?
Yeah.
Is she playing me?"
Yes. He looks so sad, like a kicked puppy.
I reject his sadness entirely. I argue that Josh is playing the victim to an absurd degree. He is not a hostage in that apartment.
That's true.
He knew exactly who Catie was long before he ever purchased that transatlantic plane ticket. She acts the exact same chaotic way on their dates, on their video calls, and at their parties. She is a loudly self-proclaimed train wreck.
She doesn't hide it.
He actively chose to ignore every single flashing neon warning sign, packed his luggage, and now he expects the audience to pity him because his bed is dirty and his fiancé likes to make out with strangers. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
He is fully complicit in his own misery. He wanted a project, and he got one.
Okay, that is a blistering hot take, but when you lay out the evidence, you are absolutely right. He is performing shock and outrage over behavior she has literally never attempted to hide. It's giving massive "I can fix her" energy, but the man didn't even bring a wrench. He just showed up and complained.
Precisely. He is addicted to the superiority he feels by being the stable one in the dynamic. Now, let's shift our analytical focus. We are moving from Catie's messy, chaotic, urban party life to a drastically different kind of social gathering.
Oh, boy.
An actual, literal white trash bash taking place in the deep south of Alabama.
Oh, Rasit and Mallorie, tailgates and toxicity. This entire segment was an overwhelming amount of information to process.
Let's begin by dissecting the Welcome to America party that Mallorie thoughtfully decided to organize for Rasit. She explicitly, proudly themed the gathering a white trash bash.
So welcoming.
For Mallorie, this aesthetic involves wearing leopard print leggings and physically rolling an empty beer can into her hair to function as a giant curler.
I couldn't look away from the beer can.
And for Rasit, a man who has just touched down from Turkey, they provided a deeply confusing costume consisting of a fake mullet attached to a red, white, and blue bandana and a pair of denim overalls with no shirt underneath.
I was spiraling into the abyss watching this. Rasit is a Muslim man from Turkey who is genuinely trying to assimilate and understand his new American life.
He's trying so hard.
And his grand introduction to his future wife's culture involves shotgunning cheap beers while wearing a synthetic mullet. The cultural whiplash must be dizzying.
Beyond dizzying.
And the absolute disrespect regarding the drinks.
Rasit brings out this traditional Turkish licorice beverage to share with her friends, genuinely trying to be a gracious host and share a piece of his home.
Lovely gesture.
And Brandon, or Brady, whatever the ex-fling's name is, struts up with two giant red solo cups brimming with Jim Beam whiskey. He essentially dismisses Rasit's cultural offering and pressures him to drink normal American whiskey instead.
It was a profoundly uncomfortable clash of cultures, barely concealed beneath the veneer of a joke party theme. But the costume choices and the cheap whiskey were merely distractions.
Yeah, that wasn't even the worst part.
The most disturbing element of this entire gathering was the dark, heavy cloud hanging over the guest list.
The uninvited friends. This situation made me so irrationally hotly angry. Mallorie sits Rasit down before the guests arrive and casually mentions that certain members of her core friend group won't be attending.
Just a casual mention.
Right, and why is that? Because they literally called Rasit a terrorist? Those were the exact words used, entirely based on his religious background and country of origin.
The bigotry on display is staggering. Mallorie's local social circle made explicitly Islamophobic comments regarding Rasit's heritage, and her grand solution to this profound moral failing was simply to exclude those specific individuals from this one singular event in order to avoid an awkward confrontation.
I cannot remain calm about Mallorie's reaction to this. She tells Rasit this horrifying information, and she starts crying, somehow centering herself and acting like she is the tragic victim of her friend's bigotry.
The tears were so manipulative.
But the crucial detail is she's still friends with them. She didn't cut them off. She just asked them to sit this one party out.
It's wild.
How on earth can you continue to associate with and invite into your life people who refer to the man you are planning to marry as a terrorist? If anyone in my social circle said something even adjacent to that about my partner, they would be immediately dead to me. Blocked, deleted, excised from my life permanently.
As they should be.
The fact that she is actively maintaining those relationships is the most glaring, terrifying interpersonal red flag of the entire season.
It illuminates a profound lack of loyalty and a deeply concerning absence of core moral values. She is explicitly prioritizing her own social comfort within a toxic community over her fiancé's physical safety and basic human dignity.
It's so shameful.
And that fundamental lack of respect within the relationship directly sets the stage for the chaotic climax of the party, the tailgate protocol.
Oh my goodness, the tailgate standoff. I cannot even comprehend the fragile masculinity at play here.
Rasit, who is feeling understandably alienated, disrespected, and rightfully defensive in this environment, decides he needs to assert some form of control.
I mean, you can't blame him.
He walks over to Brandon, the ex-fling, who has been aggressively hovering around Mallorie all night like a vulture. Brandon is leaning casually against the lowered tailgate of his large pickup truck. Rasit walks over, and in an attempt to have a face-to-face conversation, sits down on the edge of the tailgate.
And Brandon completely short-circuits. He loses his mind.
He really did.
He literally puffs out his chest and says, "Sitting on a man's tailgate without permission is an obvious sign of disrespect where I come from. I was born and raised in the South, and I have never, in my entire life, heard of tailgate protocol.
Because it doesn't exist.
It is a slab of metal attached to a motor vehicle. It is not a sacred altar."
It was an entirely fabricated offense, strategically designed by Brandon to escalate the situation into a physical confrontation. Brandon felt Rasit was trying to assert dominance, so he invented a rule to justify his rage.
So transparent.
Brandon even explicitly stated in his confessional interview that he chooses violence over someone sitting on his truck bed. It's absurd, but we also have to critically analyze Rasit's tactical error here. Rasit is desperately trying to assert alpha dominance as the man of the house to intimidate Brandon.
Right, trying to mark his territory.
But Rasit doesn't own the house. He doesn't pay the bills. He literally just arrived in the country. He has absolutely no foundation of power in this social dynamic, so his attempt to out-alpha Brandon completely backfires, resulting in a ridiculous chest-bumping standoff over a piece of automotive hardware.
It is the purest distillation of toxic masculinity baking in the humid Alabama heat. It's exhausting. But speaking of things crashing into a brick wall and coming to a sudden, permanent halt, we have to move from a romance stalling at a tailgate to a romance legally stopped at the international border.
We must dissect the flight to Fraudville, Ashia and Maxwell.
Yes, the visa was denied, outright, unequivocally denied. And it wasn't just a bureaucratic delay like, oh, we need you to submit another tax form. Denied.
No, this was final.
The immigration lawyer sits Ashia down and literally tells her the K-1 visa was denied specifically for fraud, and as a result, Maxwell is now officially permanently banned from entering the United States. Banned.
It is the most definitive, impenetrable legal brick wall a couple can possibly hit in this process. The U.S. Embassy investigated their specific case, determined it was a scam, and permanently deadbolted the door.
Locked it up and threw away the key.
Any rational, self-preserving human being would accept this as the ultimate cosmic sign to cut their losses and walk away.
But not Ashia. I was staring at the screen completely flabbergasted. Instead of taking the lawyer's massive blinking neon hint, she nods, sighs, and says, well, the Lord works in mysterious ways.
The delusion.
And then she immediately packs her massive suitcases, grabs her poor, exhausted mother, and purchases a direct flight to Nigeria to see him face to face.
It is a truly stunning display of weaponized cognitive dissonance. She fundamentally refuses to process negative empirical data.
Absolutely refuses.
But what is truly fascinating about this sequence is her stated objective when she arrives in Nigeria. She isn't flying across the world to ask him hard, necessary questions about why the embassy flagged him for fraud.
Of course not.
She is flying there to continue her obsessive pet project, Build a Scammer.
Build a scammer, yes. She does not care about his soul. She only cares about his pores. She literally packed 50 different high-end skincare products and a highly complex regimen for his hair.
50 products.
She is completely obsessed with altering his physical appearance. When they finally reunite at the airport, there is barely a romantic embrace before she immediately starts critiquing the texture of his skin, telling the cameras she has a strict program to get the aesthetic results she demands.
Here's the exact analogy I use to explain Ashia's psychology.
I love your analogies.
She is behaving exactly like someone who is trying to refurbish a stolen car.
Oh my gosh.
She is obsessing over the details. She's applying a fresh coat of paint, she's upgrading the upholstery, she's out there polishing the rims with 50 different expensive serums. But she is completely, willfully ignoring the fact that the engine block is permanently stamped with the word fraud.
Literally stamped.
It does not matter how shiny and beautiful you make the exterior look, you still cannot legally drive that stolen vehicle across the border.
That is the most perfect, accurate analogy. You cannot put a spoiler on a stolen Honda Civic and expect it to pass a government inspection.
You really can't.
And she just aggressively refuses to listen to reason. Before she leaves, her friend sits her down and tries to gently, lovingly talk reality into her. And Ashia literally deflects by quoting Proverbs 12:15 at her.
Weaponizing scripture.
She essentially tells her friend, I don't need this negative energy in my life. She is actively ignoring the United States government, a licensed immigration attorney, her closest friends, and giant flashing warning signs, all while weaponizing scripture to justify her absolute delusion.
It is the textbook definition of willful blindness. She would rather live in a beautifully moisturized lie than face a harsh, legally binding truth. Which transitions us perfectly into categorizing this chaos. Looking at all these couples, I feel a desperate need to put them into organized boxes just to make sense of the madness. Let's play visa or delusion.
Yes, let's categorize them. We have 4 very specific buckets to place these couples into based on their behavior. True love, vacation romance, delusion, and future documentary material.
Let's start with the hardest one,
Okay.
true love. Do we genuinely have a single couple that fits this criteria?
I mean,
I am scanning my extensive notes, and I am legitimately struggling to find a single shred of genuine, healthy, reciprocal affection in any of these pairings.
same. I mean, if we really stretch the definition, maybe we playfully argue Marissa and Edward for true love,
Based on what?
but only under the caveat that they both seem to truly deeply love her $1 million house. Like, Edward loves staring at the real estate, and Marissa loves rigidly controlling the real estate.
I see.
It's less of a romance and more of a deeply codependent love triangle where the property itself is the main character.
I will allow that categorization purely on the basis of shared architectural devotion. Fine. Moving on, what about vacation romance?
This absolutely has to be Rasit and Mallorie. Think about the environmental context. When they were on vacation, running around a beautiful, sun-drenched beach in Turkey, completely detached from the harsh realities of daily life, it worked.
It was a fantasy.
It was light and fun. But the absolute minute you drop that fragile vacation energy into the harsh reality of an Alabama tailgate, complete with a fake mullet, uninvited, bigoted friends, and a highly territorial ex-fling named Brandon.
Your reality hits hard.
The romance immediately evaporates. It simply could not survive the transition to a hostile reality.
Absolutely agreed. It was a localized, climate-dependent phenomenon that catastrophically failed to thrive when introduced to a new ecosystem. Now, the third category, delusion. I think we have a highly competitive tie for this bucket.
Unanimously awarded to Ashia and Maxwell, alongside Debbie and Mito, Ashia is literally boarding an international flight armed with exfoliating scrub, flying directly into a permanent government fraud ban.
Incredible.
That is top-tier, unassailable delusion. And Mito is throwing a massive diva tantrum, demanding paparazzi footage while sweating and carrying cardboard boxes into a Louisiana apartment complex, genuinely claiming he is a misunderstood Egyptian Hollywood star. Both of these couples are operating in entirely fabricated realities.
They're experiencing a complete and total detachment from empirical facts. And finally, the darkest category, future documentary material.
Josh and Catie, without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, clearly. The visual of the dirty twin mattress alone qualifies them. Add in the gummy sex toy box, the erratic, desperate texting about making out with strangers at a bar, and the unrelenting auditory torture of the garage door alarms.
It's chilling.
It possesses all the atmospheric tension and dread of a true crime prequel. We are essentially watching the grim establishing shots of a 6-part Netflix limited series right now.
Yes. I can already see the title card, The Boy in the Twin Bed. I can hear the eerie, plinking piano music playing over slow-motion footage of the garage door opening.
Terrifying.
Okay, let's hand out some hardware. It is time for the Airport Energy Awards. We are giving out our highly coveted Snark Awards based purely on the evidence presented this week. First up, the award for the biggest red flag.
This is an incredibly crowded field this week, but the award simply has to go to Catie. Specifically, her insidious habit of passing off severe, unsanitary messiness as a quirky personality trait.
It's not quirky.
The casual dismissal of permanent stounds on the mattress and her literal inability to remember whose lips she kissed the night before. That's not merely a red flag. That is a massive red banner draped over the entire apartment building.
I completely agree. It is the weaponization of quirkiness to avoid basic adult responsibilities. Okay, next award. Biggest green flag. Honestly, a very rare and endangered sight on this television program.
Very rare. I'm giving the biggest green flag to Marissa's ex-husband, Michael. Now, yes, he came in incredibly hot with the aggressive bite someone's face off comment, but look past the rhetoric to his underlying motive.
He's a protector.
He is actively prioritizing the mental health and emotional stability of his children over the temptation of reality TV drama. He saw the camera crews, he saw the bewildered new fiancé, and he drew an absolute non-negotiable boundary in the sand to protect his children's peace.
That's real.
In the context of this franchise, that level of parental protection is incredibly rare and genuinely commendable.
That is a profoundly good point. He is a terrifying individual, but he is fundamentally a good dad protecting his cubs. I respect it. Next award, most chaotic traveler.
Josh. He voluntarily left the picturesque, historically rich academic hub of Cambridge to sleep on a soiled single mattress next to a constantly shrieking mechanical garage door in a filthy apartment.
What a choice.
The absolute chaos and lack of self-preservation in that decision-making process is staggering to comprehend.
He literally traded sipping high tea for staring at a gummy box. It is a tragic downgrade. And finally, the award for the couple least likely to survive customs.
This is not even an opinion. It is a factual legal award. Ashia and Maxwell. Because Maxwell literally, legally cannot get past the embassy due to the permanent fraud ban.
He's stuck.
He will never even have the opportunity to make eye contact with a customs agent in the United States.
The devastating accuracy. Okay, let's judge some behavior. Let's look at the absolute messiest moments of the episode and determine if the actions were shady, snarky, or stupid. And we will aggressively defend our verdicts. Moment number 1. Marissa enforcing the separate showers rule in her own primary bathroom.
My verdict, snarky. And frankly, I respect the execution. Look, we can endlessly debate whether it's healthy for the romance, but from a purely analytical, power dynamic standpoint, establishing an absolute physical boundary in your personal sanctuary on the very first day is top-tier snark.
Wait.
She looked at him and essentially communicated, "You are permitted to exist in the room, but you will not breach the perimeter of my personal hygiene space. It is cold, It is highly calculated, and it is a fascinating, dominant power move.
I mean, I hate the energy of it, but I respect your analysis of the power dynamic.
Okay.
Moment number 2. Mito screaming and demanding a video for his non-existent social media career while they are physically sweating and moving heavy furniture.
Verdict. Incredibly stupid.
Absolutely, profoundly stupid. My emotional core is just dragging his lack of followers to the ends of the earth. You cannot throw an A-list diva meltdown over a JPEG when you are essentially a complete nobody on the internet.
Exactly.
You are carrying a floor lamp, Mito. You are not walking the red carpet at Cannes. It is the most embarrassing, completely stupid hill to die on.
It demonstrates a severe, almost clinical miscalculation of his own cultural capital. And finally, moment number 3. Mallorie staying friends with the people who explicitly called her fiancé a terrorist, but choosing to just ask them not to come to one specific party.
Verdict. Shady. Deeply, darkly, unforgivably shady. I think we're entirely aligned on this. It is incredibly toxic, cowardly behavior.
The worst.
You are attempting to play both sides of a moral line that simply should not be crossed under any circumstances. You cannot publicly claim to love and protect your partner while privately harboring and socializing with the very people who actively dehumanize him. It is cowardice, and it is the definition of shady.
It demonstrates a fundamental lack of integrity.
Right.
She wants the aesthetic appearance of being a supportive, loving partner without doing any of the actual difficult interpersonal work required to defend him. Absolutely shady.
Okay, we have to look ahead before we completely lose our minds. Let's lay down our official predictions for next week's episode. Who is having the biggest breakup?
Debbie and Mito. The preview footage explicitly showed him stranded on the side of a dirt road in a full pharaoh costume while she accelerated away in the car.
Good riddance.
It is incredibly difficult to rhetorically walk back a roadside abandonment. The sheer logistics alone of him attempting to navigate his way home in that theatrical outfit spell the absolute end of the relationship.
I am lighting a prayer candle for that breakup to stick. She deserves peace. Okay, biggest surprise?
I am officially predicting that when Ashia lands in Nigeria with her mother and her 50 bottles of expensive facial serum, she is going to discover that the fraud the U.S. Embassy flagged wasn't a paperwork error.
Oh, definitely not.
I predict she will find out Maxwell has at least 3 other American fiancés currently funding his life. The embassy knows something massive that she refuses to see.
Oh my goodness, the sheer scale of the drama that would cause. Yes, okay. Unexpected alliance.
Edward and Michael, the terrifying ex-husband.
Wait, I love this.
Once Edward fully realizes the true, suffocating extent of Marissa's military-grade household rules, I predict his ego will break. He will call Michael in a panic, and they will team up at a local sports bar to complain about the twin closets, the separate showers, and the bed-making protocols.
Yeah.
They will bond deeply over their shared trauma of Marissa's pristine gray walls.
I would eagerly watch an entire spin-off series consisting solely of the two of them drinking beers and trauma bonding. Okay, now it is time for one completely unhinged wild card prediction from each of us. I'll go first.
Let's hear it.
My unhinged prediction is that Catie's dirty twin mattress finally absorbs enough toxic waste and gummy residue that it gains actual biological sentience.
Oh, God.
It stands up on its own, walks out of the apartment, and demands its own confessional interview with the producers to complain about the garage door.
That is a horrifying image that will haunt my dreams.
Thank you. What's yours?
My unhinged prediction involves the Alabama tailgate. I predict that Brandon, or Brady, becomes so violently protective of his truck's hardware that he bypasses Mallorie entirely and legally marries his own tailgate in a rustic outdoor ceremony, just to ensure that no foreign man can ever sit on it disrespectfully again.
Yes, the tailgate wedding of the century. Oh my gosh, my heart is physically racing. We have unpacked so much human trauma and poor decision-making today.
It has been a truly exhausting, illuminating journey through the deepest, darkest corners of the human psyche. But now it is time to turn the conversation over to the true experts.
Yes, Snark Squad, we are looking at you. We desperately need you to weigh in down in the comments section. First critical question, are you team espresso martini or team banana pudding?
Yes.
Or are you brave enough to combine them into the elite sensory experience we discovered today?
Second question, based on our disastrous afternoon at the ceramic studio, what is the absolute weirdest, most ill-advised hobby you have ever attempted to pick up? Please let us know if you also have a deformed clay potato or a weaponized vase sitting on your mantle.
We need to know we're not alone. And honestly, the
Yep.
most important question of all, which of these chaotic television couples are you still rooting for, if any? Is there a single shred of hope left in this franchise, or should we just strike a match and burn the whole season down?
Burn it down.
Thank you so much for listening, laughing, and spiraling with us today. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and crucially, share this episode with your absolute messiest friend. They need to hear this analysis.
Stay caffeinated.
Stay chaotic.
And we'll see you on the spark side.